What's shaking, everybody, and welcome to the Deeper Pockets podcast. My name's Darren. I'm here with my good friend Dylan. Dylan, how you going this weekend?
Feeling good, mate. I'm actually away for the weekend somewhere I don't really know, but it's beautiful. Having a good time, just relaxing. So, yeah, how are you, mate?
Yeah, fabulous. It's been one of those wet weekends, so it means it's good for doing things like listening to music, podcasts,
Indeed.
and some audio engineering and stuff. Yeah, so it's been
Nice.
pretty full on. Yeah, keen to dive into some tracks today. It's just one of those days. I'm just excited about what we're going to talk about today.
You've chosen some good tunes, mate. I got excited from the first one right to the end, mate. It's gonna be fun.
Well, I think they're definitely in your wheelhouse. And considering the theme, I think listeners will pick up on what the theme is pretty soon. Yeah, as for new listeners to the pod, we break down 3 tracks each episode. We focus in on Scary Pockets, then the Stories track, and then a track that's fits in sort of a groove or a pocket and has some sort of connection with the Scary Pockets guys. So I'm pretty excited. We've got some big names on today's show and some killer tracks, some killer songs that have just stood the test of time. Yeah, let's before we do that, first we just need to give a quick plug out to like, subscribe, share, and of course enjoy this podcast. You can catch us on Instagram, YouTube, various podcast streaming services, as long as the copywriters don't block us. And
we're rebels with the cause.
Yeah, they'll catch on to us soon.
Cowboys.
We're still striving for that ground level goal of 10 listeners before our 10 episode. But I think I saw 5 views on our YouTube clip, and it hasn't even been published yet. So unless it's me checking it 5 times, I'm not sure.
Not to think about that, mate.
Halfway there.
Just let it go straight into your ego and let it grow.
Ego? I'm a musician. I don't have an ego.
Apparently, I've got a wheelhouse, though, according to you. I don't know what that is.
This is I'm very happy. Your wheelhouse, because
I never knew I had a wheelhouse.
Into that first track, it's just you all over. So we haven't pushed this in our first 2 episodes, but I do want to remind guys that you can support the Scary Pockets guys by joining their Patreon sort of fan club. Of course, Jack Conti is the CEO of Patreon. There's no conflict of interest there. And if you subscribe to their Patreon, you can get heaps of good benefits, like joining their vinyl club. You get basically a record, I think, every month.
This the other day, I think they've just released another sort of a year's worth of their top songs that they did, and all on vinyl just for their Patreon guys. Yeah,
so I've got a couple. Their best of hits, but like the best of 2020, and I think this time around there's Scary Goldings vinyl, which is awesome. So if you don't know who those guys are, it's basically Jack and Ryan from Scary Pockets with some of the other Scary Pockets musos, and it's that chilled out instrumental vibe. It's really cool. I dig it. It's definitely a bop. And this current version has John Schofield guest starring on it with his awesome jazz licks on guitar there. So a couple of tracks have already been released, and they sound amazing. Of course,
Lewis Cole is on there as well. Maybe Lewis Cole has a few songs.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mono Neon.
He's a funky looking dude.
Bit hard to miss.
I think you should try sporting something like that, Daz. Okay. With the neon glasses and the colourful sock on the end of the guitar.
Might try that my next gig. Definitely
get your wheelhouse.
Definitely get. And don't forget, if you're in Sydney, drop into the Dirty Red Cafe in Glebe and give a shout out to Dylan, who runs that cafe. He might even give you a free sneaky piccolo.
Or 5% off. One or the other. Come on, man. We're running a business here, eh? I'm going to have to start my own Patreon page soon.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, I think we will launch a Patreon page for our copyright legal fees we might have to pay coming up.
Indeed.
But let's get into it. Our first track, it's definitely a banger, and it's a mashup. And I don't know about you, Dylan, but sometimes mashups, I don't get them. I don't know. It's
you feel a bit forced, right?
Yeah, it's like, how does that song? Sometimes songs do flow in one another, and it's just like, yep, that just sinks. And sometimes you kind of go, hang on, why are we going to this song? And that on our first episode, the mashup of I'd Rather Go Blind and Lauryn Hill is just time. You know, it's really cool. It's out a bit of left field, but it just works. And I think on our first track that we'll listen to today, it's my kind of version of a mashup because it's subtle. It's not in your face mashup. So let's have a quick listen to this track. It is Jamiroquai's Virtual Insanity, which is mashed up with a John Mayer tune that maybe some people that aren't big fans of John might not hear. I've heard before that it's not really a single as such, but it is a crowd favourite. Let's have a listen.
Giving all my love to this world, only to be told I can't see, I can't breathe, no more will there be. And nothing's gonna change the way we live, cause all we do is take and never give. And now that things are changing for the worse, see, oh, it's a crazy world we're living in. And I just can't see half of us immersed in sin is all we have to give these futures made of virtual insanities. And we always seem to be gathered by this love we have for useless twisting of a new technology. Oh, now there is no sound, cause we all live underground. Alright, alright.
So good, man. I love that vibe. So good.
So, that is Virtual Insanity by Jamiroquai, who is, you were a big Jamiroquai fan back in the day, Dylan?
Yeah, I think growing up, there wasn't that many big sort of funk, soul kind of bands that going around that you would be able to like get behind that were kind of on the radio. I don't think. I would say they were probably the only one, I think, in Australia at the time. Yeah.
And I remember when Cosmic Girl came out, which Virtual Insanity is on that same album, and it was obviously the biggest hit. And I just remember hearing that sound and going, that bass line is so funky. Like, how is this on the radio
section? Incredible stuff. And, you know, they kind of, I guess, style-wise, it's kind of not so much around anymore. But it's definitely a sound of, I reckon, a decade or two that you just knew straight away when they came on the radio who it was, especially his voice. But yeah, the band, obviously, a bunch of incredible musicians in their own right. And I think it was 20 years ago, actually, that Virtual Insanity song came out.
Yeah, it's showing our age, isn't it?
Yeah, and that film clip was also, I think, one of like the most like buzzed about film clips at the time because of how they filmed it.
Yeah, let's have a look at that.
What we're living in, let me tell ya. And it's a world that man can eat at all. When things are big that should be small. Who can tell what magic spells we'll be doing for us? And I'm giving all my love to this world, only to be told I can't see, I can't breathe, no, my will be. And nothing's gonna change the way we live, cause we can always take but never give. For the world, see, wow, it's a crazy world we're living in, and I just can't see that half of us immersed in sin is all we have to give these futures made of virtual insanity. Now always seem to be gathered about this love we have for useless twisting of that new technology. Oh, now there is no sound.
Yeah, it still holds up, that clip with the the composite sort of, one long shot, things moving, and just his persona as a front man is just unmatched. He just doesn't stop live, does he?
No, and I don't know if you know this little thing about that film clip. Obviously, if you're listening to the podcast, you won't be able to see it, but definitely YouTube that clip if you didn't see it. And the way that they made it look so weird is like, how is that couch moving around? Actually, the couch isn't moving at all. It's the whole room, the walls are moving around. And so they've got certain couches attached to the walls, and then one or two isn't, and they're spinning the whole room around.
Yeah, right.
That's why it gives that kind of weird kind of, how is he moving like that kind of odd look at it, because he's not actually, it's not the floor that's moving, it's the room around him that's moving.
Yeah,
so
right.
It gives that whole weird illusion. Yeah, it's pretty cool when you watch the making of that film clip, how they did it. It's crazy.
I have to check it out. But have you ever seen Jamiroquai live, mate?
Never got to, mate. It hasn't toured in Australia as long as I've known them, and then only very rarely toured at all in the UK. I think they did one jazz festival over there at the time I was over there. So no, I haven't got the chance.
Yeah, I think I've only caught, I was in Sydney. I went to a gig and they were playing on the foreshore of the Opera House on the beautiful Sydney Harbour. And after our gig was over, which was just the old basement, if you know that venue, we walked down there and we basically just sat outside the fence and listened to them the whole night. Didn't see them, but had a nice soundtrack while we watched the Harbour Bridge. And
nice.
Yeah, that was I think the tour where it was that little L song and that
huge album,
Love Philosophy. Yeah, the biggest album, I think, one of my faves. But this track, so I like how they've mashed it up with, and it's just sitting underneath and driving that groove is John Mayer's I Don't Trust Myself Loving You. So in my view, it's a perfect mashup because it's subtle. You don't really know it's there unless you're a John Mayer fan. You're going, hang on, I know that track. And then when he starts singing, he doesn't sing the song you think it's going to be. It's something different.
It's not even there. I think it's the only thing they've really kept is that riff and they've probably the speed, right? The pace of that groove are the two things they've kept. Everything else is pretty much by the chorus. It just kicks into the same changes, but with a different groove, right?
Yeah. Did you know that that album, Traveling Without Moving, it was the highest selling funk album of all time? No,
it's crazy, but not surprising because it was probably one of the only ones that managed to get Sirius 8 radio airplay, huh?
Yeah. And of course they had Cosmic Girl on it, so massive for them. So we won't go into too much of Don't Trust Myself Loving You because don't want to give too much away, but we'll be focusing that on our second track today. But Stories released that, and I couldn't believe this. It's in February 2021. That's this year, Dylan.
Yeah, we missed it.
It seems like years ago.
Well, I mean, to be honest, last month seems like about 6 years ago, right? The way we've been locked down over this year, it's been a crazy time. I think it's funny that they're surrounded in, perspex cages, but the drummer's just being extra careful. He's like, nothing getting in this bite. I'm going to mask up inside my own.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he doesn't trust himself.
Safety. Hey. Safety first. He's definitely not catching nothing. But crazy times. And awesome singer. Who's that singer, man?
Yeah, man. So we'll get on the personnel. So it's Jacob Luttrell, and he has focus, or he has had a spotlight on a couple of other Scary Pockets and Stories tracks, but I think he's a well-renowned sort of session guy in LA. And I did a bit of research yesterday, and I got taken to a MySpace page.
Still, to this day, they exist.
It's still going.
Wow.
I don't think it's been updated for like 30 years, but
wow.
Yeah. Did you have a MySpace? Did you have a MySpace page?
Oh, mate, I had like a really cool MySpace page. I thought I had no friends following it. Well, I never turned it off, so I don't know how that works.
Maybe
Does that mean it's still out there?
It could be. You might have to. I'm going to check it out.
Next week we can preview our MySpace pages.
Yeah, well, I didn't have one.
Wow, you missed out.
I didn't get on that bandwagon.
You could make it look pretty cool with your different coding. And whatnot. So good thing for music, MySpace.
So yeah, you can check out Jacob's early biography like I did on his MySpace page. But I discovered him or he's more, you know, where I know him from is a certain clip, and I'm not sure if you've seen this one. Maybe I have shared it with you, but it's one of my favorite YouTube clips of all time, just because it captures a moment of time that at a gig where, you know, we've got David Ryan Harris, who's basically John Mayer's sideman. He's taking front and center here. You've got John Mayer in the background. You've got Sean Hurley, who is typically the bass player for John Mayer whenever Pino Palladino is off doing other things. And you've got Jacob here on keyboards. Let's have a listen to Jacob bust out a solo on this. Have you seen that before, mate? Seen that one?
I think I've seen it a bit, but a long time. I didn't include that it was the same guy. It would have been a while ago. I think you shared that the other bit.
That's one of my favorite clips. It goes for 21 minutes. Everyone gets a go having a solo, and the dynamics, the pocket, the musicality, the interaction between them all. It's an outstanding piece of work.
He's a talented guy, man. I didn't realize he played keys. His voice, something about his voice really got me on that track, to be honest. I think I found the tone, again, like they're all so different with the Scary Pockets thing, but so restrained. He almost holds every note back just a little bit, and there's a lot. It's not forced or breathy. It's very much like using it like an instrument, like that film clip shows.
Yeah, definitely. So so we got Jacob Luttrell on vocals, basses Anna Butters, who's been on some other Scary Pockets and Stories where she's played some upright bass, and just she's doing a great job just covering the Virtual Insanity bass line. It just really kicks. Lamar Carter, one of my favorites, again on drums, laying it down. And of course, Ryan on guitar and Jack. And I'd have to say it's fierce Jack on keys. He's got that look. He's sometimes. Yeah, you're right. Sometimes he's like all happy, and other times he's like I'm just gonna
he's in the groove, man.
Grind on that one. So it's a great track. I like this version from this session they did where they're all in the ISO boxes, because it is it is I guess in 10, 15 years time, maybe when we go back and we have a look at these, we'll go, I remember that time when we had to isolate and we had to be in our own little box. It's just a great little marker of the times that we are living in, and Indeed. Virtual Insanity. I think we've all probably suffered from that a little bit in the last 18 months because of this pandemic. So I just found the whole vibe pretty fitting for the times we're in. Any other points for you on this track, mate?
Yeah, I definitely was focusing mostly on on the vocals on that track. There's just a couple of things. If anyone goes back and listens to it, he's just got a couple of improv licks that he does with his voice where there's a bit of a gap before drums drop back in. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's really light. It's not even pushing it, but he just has this, ability just to move between, such small notes, but so accurately. Yeah, his tone and his pitch is incredible. Just loved his take on it. Also, really, really liked. You mentioned the bass player briefly, Anna. I really liked her approach to the track. Just think it was could have been overplayed a bit, that song, and she definitely doesn't do that. It's really, really, really tight. Because that for me gives all that space for the vocal to do its thing. So.
Yeah, because I know a fair few bass players that I think we talked the other day about, songs that musicians love to play, and I know that bass line is one that bass players love to play because it's really funky, and they will overplay it. And I think the tempos drop back a bit. That allows her to just give it more space as well.
I loved it, man. It's great.
Yeah. And it was good to hear, a different recording style. So obviously while they're all in the boxes, there's more isolation. So that means there's less bleed from other instruments into their various mics. So, and it's something, we try, in a band at the moment, we tried to replicate a Scary's Pocket session in my little studio. And now that I'm trying to do the audio engineering for it and the mixing afterwards, the bleed is really hard. So I just want to give a big shout out to Caleb Parker, who's the audio engineer for Scary Pockets, who does such a great job putting these tracks together and mixing them, probably not in the most ideal circumstances that an audio engineer / mixer would want, but he does a fantastic job nonetheless. I did reach out to him the other day to say, how do you do this, man? How do you get singers to even hear themselves when they're not wearing headphones in their little recording studio? And he said, well, we have a couple of speakers for them to hear. So that's even more, volume within the room. And he said a really good little line. He said, we do our best to make it sound cool, not necessarily good. And I think that sort of sums it up as what they put out. Something that's cool.
Yeah, that's
might not necessarily be good.
Super interesting,
but it's cool. So yeah.
Well, I think it sounds pretty good too, to be honest.
Yeah. So that's Scary Pockets track, Virtual Insanity with a John Mayer mashup. Track 2 is a stories track, and we featured this artist last episode. Let's have a listen now of Dannielle DeAndrea smashing out a cover of John Mayer's I Don't Trust Myself Loving You. Here we go. Love it. So this is John Mayer's I Don't Trust Myself Loving You, coming from his third album, which picked this one because it's our third episode. So,
Yeah, I didn't read between the lines there, man.
Did the links here, man?
What a great song.
Which was 2006, 15 odd years ago, man.
Third album being
Continuum,
which was definitely probably his, I'm actually not his most successful, but definitely probably his most critically acclaimed album. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, as sort of mentioned before, it's not really a well-known track for non-John Mayer fans, but it definitely is a staple in one of his live shows. And I just want to take you back, Dylan, to a night, we had together with John where he played this song in Sydney and we were there.
I can remember.
Here's a bit. I've seen him a fair few times. That was probably the best concert I've ever seen John Mayer play.
It was amazing.
He was. I think it's an
we got some superstars there.
Yeah.
We got Pino on the bass, which I didn't expect. Man, that guy's so unfair. How good he is at everything, And you'd be like, come on, old fella, just give the young kids a go. But none of them are as good as him, so you can't. He's just. He's probably a big reason why I think now that I hear that again, that's why that song is such a great groove, is because he's just sitting there just plugging away at it,
Yeah. I remember that they did Vultures that night as well, and they just let Pino just set the groove up with Sterloid on drums, and that concert still gives me shivers. Like it was awesome. The way he finished with Gravity at the end.
Great night.
It was a great night, and so classic here from John, and the Stories vibe here is great. It's a little bit more, I guess, what we say, traditional stripped back cover. They're not using some of that compression and stuff and tape delay they do on the acoustics to give the Stories vibe. But we have Dannielle absolutely singing a heart out on this one and really giving an excellent performance. Eric Krasno from Soul Live.
That's who it was. What a dude.
What a dude. What a great guitarist. Haven't really listened much to them. You've checked them out a bit, haven't you?
Oh yeah, Soul Live, man. They've released so many great records. Their live albums are insane and kind of feature a lot of guys who we've kind of got to know since then. They would use like Nigel Hall a lot on vocals, who we now know pretty well from other bands that we've seen play live in Australia. He's just got the guitarist, the organ player in that band is insane. I'd say those three guys, I think it's a trio. They for me were probably one of the first bands that sort of got me hooked on live sort of instrument. So just because of the way that they the energy they brought to it, there was just so much more about the energy and amazing band. Check out Ballad, is incredible. One of their first albums, incredible. For me, really important band.
Yeah, cool. Definitely. We've got Will Gramling on the Whirly, and I love how he just sets up the whole track at the start, playing that vibe. He's been on tours with Colby Clay and Jesse McCartney. And of course,
that would have been a big tour.
Huge. And Ryan is on guitar and engineered and mixed by Justin Glasgow. Recorded at Scary Pockets HQ. So for me, when I listen to this track, I think of one word, and it's just harmonization. I just
The guitars, huh?
I hear the harmony in the guitars. I hear the harmony in the voices, the three-part harmony. I'm hearing reharmonization of chords when they go into the chorus. They've added some root notes under the chords just to lift it a little bit, and just it sounds like a reharmonization to me, but maybe all it is just different root notes. But yeah, the whole thing just sounds just beautifully harmonized, beautifully arranged. We have a guitar solo in the middle. We don't normally see that in a story track. Of course, when you got a guy like Krasno there, you got to give him that space to shine, and they do. And he makes that Gibson sound unbelievably beautiful. So what were you digging on this track, mate?
I think the backing vocals for me. I mean, obviously she's great. That goes without saying, but sometimes there's the little things that that pop out to me. And I'm pretty sure it's his vocals, Eric's vocals. The way that I feel like backing vocals should always be. They're almost like a harp instrument. They're always kind of like you've got to place yourself in the mix almost manually. So you're bringing your notes in slightly later. You're sort of bringing them in and then bringing them out again before the end of the tone, just so that lead vocal can be heard. He's just holding it. He's just doing that in the room based on the sound in the room. I think whenever I used to do gigs and sing with other people, I remember always thinking the ones that we were most happy with is when it was like it sounded just like this wall of sound as opposed to these individual voices, and you're almost putting an effect on the lead vocal with the harmony, not putting another vocal on it. And just the way you watch him come into the phrase and then get out of the phrase before it's even finished. It's just like a very subtle touch. So I really liked his vocal, and I thought his vocal was amazing. She was incredible too. I just appreciate when you get a backing vocal to, is just like bringing that layer. Really nice.
Yeah, it's harmony is a beautiful thing, and when it's done well, like this is, it really does stand out, but not in a bad way. It just complements everything and gives the song a lift. It's such a great tune. They've done a great job, and I think it still keeps to the original elements of the I guess the John Mayer track as well.
Totally.
Yeah, very good. Cool. So good.
All right, man. Moving on.
We're smashing through this week's episode, and I like it because we're now up to the third track, which is just a track that fits into the theme, fits into the groove, and rather than talk about it, let's just play it. Let's have a listen to, I guess, the outro of the track we're about to listen to. I surrender. Yeah, it's John Mayer's Last Train Home, the Ballad version. So, yeah, John obviously released this album this year, which is called Sob Rock, and has definitely a concept to it. I guess some would say 80s vibe and ballady type songs where he's drawn inspiration from, I guess, some of his favorites like Clapton and George Harrison, Paul Simon, even, that I hear throughout it. And this track, some have said it's an ode to Toto. It's got Toto's percussionist on it, on the original, or the album cut, I guess. And it's also got Greg Fillinganes on keyboards. And Greg has played with many, many artists. Some of the most notable artists in music history, of course, Michael Jackson, as well as I saw him on tour with Eric Clapton back in the 90s. The guy is phenomenal. He is one of the awesome keyboardists of our, of music, I guess. I was going to say our generation, but
he's not.
I think that's doing a disservice to him, because I think he's played across many generations. So he's John's obviously got an ability to tap into some great musicians that obviously want to play with him, and he wants to utilize their expertise for the different sounds. We mentioned Pino before, that sets up the grooves and stuff for him, and on this track he's or this album he's using Greg's keyboard abilities to shape that sound for him. So this came out of the blue for me. I think he sort of announced that he was releasing some ballad version of the track, and I had no idea what it was going to be. Probably I thought maybe an acoustic kind of version, and he's pulled out just this amazing pushed right back. Sterling on drums is just sitting so far back on the beat, and it's a great example of John, for those that don't know John Mayer too much, of what a live show's like. That outro solo is a typical example of a John Mayer concert, where he just gets in the vibe and jams out. I think your comment when I shared this one with you in our little chat, Dylan, was this is just straight fire.
Yeah, man. I'm speaking the young people language these days, man. Straight fire.
It's lit.
I learn it from the young staff that work with me at the cafe. All the new slang, the new lingo, mate. I don't know, something. There's a couple of things for me that it's got Phil Collins written all over it. I don't know. I just think it's just so much like, and the percussionist is just like, all over it. Just the melodies come through more when it's slowed right down like that. The groove it would be so hard to play that song. Like, I just think when you hear it, it's like there's no way that ordinary humans could hold a groove at that pace, and it just be so reserved the whole song right until the end there.
Yeah.
And then but just there's like Genesis all over it, Toto all over it. He's nailed that kind of vibe without it being, for me, cheesy. Like, I don't sit there going, this is a throwback band. I get to go, this is just influenced by another great group of musicians and styles, and he's made it his own. Also, his voice for me, just keeps getting better. His voice. I listened to his old stuff when he released like his first live album, and his guitar playing was always incredible. His voice probably left a little bit, like, I guess, to be desired in terms of the strength with improv and stuff, and listen to that compared to then, and you're just like, man, this guy is a singer, as much as he's a guitarist. So I think I just loved how pulled back it was. I just think it's so hard to do, and to maintain people's attention in that, unless you're really in that pocket. So loved it. Felt like a song in the middle of a movie when a couple are just starting to meet for the first time, like a love story. I don't know. So it was great. Loved it. Yeah,
and I loved when like it's all kind of rim shot, and then you hear that first crack of the snare, and it's like, oh, here we go. We're gonna that's a good signal. I know where this is going, and it goes. And it goes there. It goes there big.
Amazing.
So it'd be really interesting when he goes live. Is he going to play the standard sort of album cut, or is he going to throw some nights he's going to go and play the slow version, or are they going to mash it up somehow? It's interesting. He's done a cover of one of his own tunes. How many people have done that? He's kind
I
of
mean,
done
it is something you would expect that of John Mayer to a certain degree. You know?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But he's kind of done a Scary Pockets already. He's like gone, no, these guys aren't going to steal my song. I'll put it under my name and I get the money.
Yeah. And you actually wonder maybe what came first, the album cut or that cut, which informed the songwriting, whether he was just playing a groove with the band and then went, right, this seems to be a bit more up tempo for the record, or was it the other way around? You know?
I think I did read that he was strumming the sort of chords for the tune on an acoustic, and I think it was the quicker version of the change. So, but it works either way, and it just shows you it doesn't. Great songs can have different vehicles. It can be you can fly it in a plane, you can drive it in a car, you can ride the train. Get it? The train. It might be the last train. Might be the last train home. But a great song can fit different modes.
Yeah.
If it's a great song. If it's not a great song, it can only fit the one mode that it's kind of designed in, you know.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, there's examples of that, like Oasis, Wonderwall, and Ryan Adams does a version of it. Or, you know, even in Australia, I think Something for Kate recently, great Australian band, took Taylor Swift's Cardigan, completely different version of it. You know, I think you're right. When he's got a melody in a song structure, it can adapt to so many different styles. You're totally right. And I think that is what makes a great song. It can be played beautifully with just a guy on a guitar as well as a full band. That's when you know you got something special.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I'm really hopeful that we get to see John back in Sydney again, and we can share some time with him, with a couple of other, you know, 20-odd thousand crazy fans.
He was looking at you that whole solo just then, by the way, Dave.
Pretty sure he was.
On that YouTube, he was just like, he was staring at Darren Smith at like the furthest row back.
It is funny to say that. The first time I went to see John Mayer, my wife and I went, and he back at that time, you know, he was playing Your Body's a Wonderland, and in the middle of that, he went into the Prince tune. You Must Be the Most Beautiful Girl in the World, that tune, and he was looking dead at my missus. And I said, John, back off. Back right off, mate. That's because we're pretty close. We're like, and he was definitely making eye contact. So I say, John, step off the train.
And I think he apologized in a live show once for that, I believe. I heard him speaking specifically about that incident, man. So I think he has felt remorse. I think, you know, in fact, this whole album was dedicated to her. So.
It's an apology.
Absolutely.
Album. Sub rock.
Absolutely.
out everywhere. Yeah. So, mate, that's going to wrap it up for us. So
thanks for the time, man.
Thanks all for listening. Make sure you check out Scary Pockets. Check out their Patreon. Have a look at what, you know, how you can support them. Get onto their vinyl club, which is amazing value. Because if you want a vinyl record, like I paid $75 Australian for a vinyl record the other day. Like, have you bought any vinyl recently?
What did I buy recently? Yeah, I did. I got the new Parcels record on vinyl. Amazing.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Yeah, incredible. I think I mentioned it last week. I got the re-release of Radiohead's Kid A and Amnesiac record, which was like a 3-record package, which was awesome. And it's got like a 3rd record full of B-sides off those 2 albums, which it's actually ridiculously good. There's some songs on there that I like wouldn't be out of place on a pop record. It's really interesting. What else have I got recently? I've got Alan Stone's new one coming in the mail soon. I think I've got what else did I get recently? Motor Race, great Australian rock band. Got that one recently. So the collection is growing, my friend.
Yeah. So good. And you'll hear them on the turntable at Dirty Red on Glebe Point Road. So grab a coffee and some yummy brunch or lunch. You do dinners there too now? Still?
No, not unless I've had to work way too hard and I'm still there at night.
I'll definitely hands down say it's the best brunch in Sydney. Make sure you do yourself a favour, check it out.
Good on you, man.
And then get some ramen across the road because that's the best in Sydney.
Absolutely. See you in Sydney.
Yeah, definitely. So drop in, say hi to Dylan. Let him know you're a fan of Scary Pockets in our podcast. That'll wrap it up for us. Keep liking, subscribing, and enjoying. Stay in the pocket, and we'll catch you on the next one. Adios.